My life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. Tomorrow, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. One shot, it's gone.
The announcement did not come from the Pentagon, it came from the president directly, and it was not framed as a possibility. If the back-channel negotiations over the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's nuclear program failed to produce a verifiable agreement, a second carrier strike group would deploy to the Persian Gulf immediately, not on a rotational schedule, not as a deterrence exercise, as a combat-ready second axis of pressure positioned alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln formation already holding station at the strait entrance. Two carrier strike groups operating in the same operational theater meant two independent air wings, two sets of Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, two separate Tomahawk land attack missile inventories, and a combined strike capacity that no regional air defense architecture had been designed to absorb simultaneously. Tehran had 72 hours to respond through the established back-channel contact. This is what negotiating leverage looks like when it is measured in flight deck acreage and VLS cell count. At Naval Station Norfolk, the second carrier strike group's flagship was already at an elevated readiness tire before the public announcement cleared the wire. USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered carrier displacing over 97,000 tons at full load, had completed its last scheduled maintenance cycle and was in the final stages of pre-deployment certification. On its flight deck, Carrier Air Wing 1's aircraft were spotted in their assigned positions, F/A-18E and F/A-18F Super Hornets occupying the primary strike slots on the bow and waist catapult tracks, EA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft parked on the starboard side aft with their jamming pods already mounted on the wing stations, and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft positioned near the aft deck edge with their rotodome fairings lowered for hangar clearance. Yellow Jersey aircraft directors and Blue Jersey plane handlers moved between the parked jets, repositioning aircraft according to the flight deck coordinator's spotting plan. Every aircraft in the air wing was undergoing accelerated readiness inspections against a compressed timeline. In the carrier's aviation maintenance department, plane captains worked through their assigned aircraft on the hangar deck below. F/A-18F Super Hornets had their engine access panels open. General Electric F414-GE-400 turbofan engines were inspected at the combustion section, high-pressure turbine stage, and afterburner fuel manifold. Borescope cameras were inserted into inspection ports to check turbine blade condition without full disassembly. Each engine's FADEC, full authority digital engine control, and was interrogated for fault codes via the maintenance data terminal plugged into the aircraft's avionics bay. Hydraulic system pressure was checked at the service panel on the nose gear bay. Actuator lines inspected for chafing where they ran through the main gear well. Flight control surfaces, ailerons, flaperons, rudders were cycled through their full deflection range, while a second technician watched from outside the aircraft for binding or asymmetric movement. Aircraft with clear fault logs across all systems were signed off and returned to the flight deck. Aircraft with open discrepancies were tagged with a red grounding placard and moved to the back of the readiness queue. The EA-18G Growlers assigned to the air wing carried a specific mission profile for this deployment: suppression of enemy air defenses. Each Growler was configured to carry the AN/ALQ-99 tactical jamming system in its centerline and wing station pods, a system capable of detecting, classifying, and actively jamming Iranian radar and surface-to-air missile guidance frequencies across multiple bands simultaneously. Jamming pod alignment was verified on the deck with the aircraft powered up. Each pod's transmit array cycled through its frequency bands, while maintenance technicians confirmed output power levels on the electronic warfare test set connected to the aircraft's avionics bus. The aircraft's APG-79 AESA radar doubled as both a navigation and targeting sensor and a passive electronic intelligence collector, building a real-time picture of Iranian radar emitter locations and transmission frequencies across the entire threat envelope. This data would feed directly into the strike package targeting for the F/A 18E/F flights operating behind the Growler's jamming corridor, suppressing the surface-to-air missile batteries before the strike aircraft entered their engagement envelopes. On the destroyer USS Gravely, one of the Arleigh Burke-class escorts assigned to CVN-75 Strike Group, the weapons department was running Mark 41 vertical launch system readiness checks. The destroyer's 96 VLS cells were loaded with a layered mix of munitions: RIM-162 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles in the forward cells for close-in terminal air defense, RIM-66 Standard Missile 2s in the midship cells for area air defense against aircraft and anti-ship missiles, and BGM-109 Tomahawk Block 4 cruise missiles loaded in the aft cells for land attack employment. Each cell's umbilical connection to the launch sequencer was tested for electrical continuity. Pressurization levels in every canister were logged against the manufacturer's specification table. The ship's combat systems officer signed the readiness certification and submitted it up the chain to the strike group commander aboard CVN-75. The destroyer was not at full deployment posture yet, but the gap between its current readiness state and underway status was being measured in hours, not days. Back in the Persian Gulf on the USS Abraham Lincoln, already on station, the announcement had landed in the carrier's combat direction center like a second targeting order. The formation's operations staff ran immediate calculations on the combined strike capacity of 2 carrier air wings operating in coordinated sequence. 2 air wings meant simultaneous strikes from separate axes, forcing Iranian air defense batteries to engage threats from multiple vectors at the same time, a coordination problem that degraded intercept probability on every incoming strike package. The Tomahawk inventory across both strike groups' destroyer escorts represented over 200 land attack cruise missiles, available for simultaneous or sequenced employment against the target list already finalized on the strike coordinator's console. A pilot in CVN-72's ready room had been watching the news feed on the wall-mounted display when the president's statement came through. He was already in his flight suit, kneeboard clipped, helmet bag by the door. He read the statement once, looked back at the flight schedule on the whiteboard, and picked up the rest of his coffee. His call sign was still in the first launch cycle. The second carrier was not here yet, but the targeting coordinates in his mission card were already loaded. The catapult was already cycled, and the airspace over the Strait of Hormuz was already under continuous surveillance by the E-2D Hawkeye flying the overhead orbit. Whether Tehran responded to 1 carrier or waited for 2, the strike infrastructure was already in place. The second carrier strike group was preparing to sail from Norfolk. The first had not moved from its position at the strait entrance, its formation geometry unchanged, its weapon systems in the same loaded and pressurized state they had been in for the last 18 hours. The Tomahawk cells on every destroyer in both formations were loaded, pressurized, and awaiting an authorization code that the president had just made considerably more credible. Together, the 2 strike groups represented a combined inventory of over 200 Tomahawk land attack missiles, 2 full carrier air wings with more than 130 strike aircraft between them, and a layered air defense umbrella extending 200 nautical miles in every direction from each carrier's position. The negotiating table in the back channel had exactly 72 hours of relevance remaining. After that, it would be replaced by something with a much shorter decision cycle and a considerably larger operational footprint.